At 9:14 a.m. on a Monday morning, a woman in a designer blazer looked at a man's extended hand. And turned away. "You're beneath me," she said. 4 words. In front of 11 people. The man lowered his hand slowly. He did not flinch. Did not look away. Did not say a single word. And nobody in that room, not one person, knew that the document in the woman's own briefcase named that man as the new chairman of the board she reported to. By noon, she would know. By the end of the week, so would everyone else. Piano note sustained, then falls. There are moments in a father's life that test everything. Not the loud moments. Not the ones with witnesses. The quiet ones. The ones where everything inside you could justify a reaction, and you choose, instead, to simply stand. Because your daughter is watching. Not in the room. But always watching. This is the story of a man who lowered his hand. And what he did next changed every life in that building. His name was James Okafor. 46 years old. Single father of a 9-year-old girl named Ada, to everyone who knew her, who had her mother's eyes and her grandfather's stubbornness and a laugh that had the power to make strangers turn around in grocery stores. James worked as a senior financial consultant, independent, contract-based, the kind of professional who entered struggling companies, diagnosed what was wrong with their financial architecture, and left them structurally sound before moving to the next engagement. He was very good at it. Not well-known good. The industry kind of good, where the people who understood what he did understood exactly what it cost them when he wasn't in the room. His father, Emmanuel Okafor, had been a civil engineer in Lagos for 31 years before immigrating to the United States when James was 12. Emmanuel had rebuilt his career from zero in a country that did not immediately recognize what he had spent 3 decades becoming. He had done it without complaint. Without bitterness. With the specific patience of a man who understood that what you are cannot be taken by what someone else fails to see. He had told James once. James was 16, watching his father study for the American certification exams at the kitchen table at midnight. What you know belongs to you. No one can take it. Not with words. Not with silence. Not with a turn back. James had carried those words for 30 years. He carried them in his left breast pocket, along with a drawing Ada had made him on the first day of school, a man in a suit with a briefcase, and beside him a small girl with her arms stretched wide. Underneath, "Come home big, Baba." He always brought it to client meetings. He always came home. Ada's mother, Amara, had passed away 4 years ago. A blood cancer, swift and unkind, the kind that moves before grief has time to prepare for it. She had been 38. Ada had been 5. James had held his daughter for a very long time after. Then he had packed her school bag for Monday. And every school day since. Ada had a heart condition, a structural abnormality, managed with medication, monitored quarterly. The cardiologist appointments were every 3 months. The medication was $800 monthly after insurance. James structured every contract around 2 things, Ada's appointment schedule and the monthly medication deadline. He ate whatever was left on Ada's plate. Every evening. Without exception. Ada had noticed this when she was 7. "Baba," she had said one night, watching him. "I always leave the best piece for you. You know that, right?" He had looked at his daughter. "I know," he said. "Good," she said. "Don't forget." He never forgot. The company was called Meridian Group. A mid-sized investment firm in Chicago that had been hemorrhaging quietly for 18 months, not dramatically, not in the way that made headlines, but in the specific way that firms hemorrhage when the financial architecture underneath the public face has been slowly mismanaged by people who were very good at appearing to know what they were doing. James had been engaged by the holding company that owned Meridian. Brought in quietly. Introduced to no one initially. Given access to financials and left to work. It was how these engagements always began. The CEO of Meridian was a woman named Victoria Crane. 41 years old. Harvard MBA. Professionally precise, publicly confident, and, James had assessed within the first week of reviewing the financials, genuinely brilliant at revenue generation and genuinely blind to what was happening in the structural layer beneath it. Not corrupt. Not malicious. Blind. The kind of blind that comes from having always been excellent at the visible part and therefore never having had to develop peripheral vision for the invisible. On Monday of the second week, James was scheduled to attend the weekly leadership meeting, standard protocol for the engagement. He arrived at 9. Victoria was already at the head of the table. 11 senior staff arranged around it. James took the empty seat by the door, not the seat at the center, not the consultant's chair some firms like to create, just the seat by the door, because the seat by the door had the best view of the room and James had learned long ago that the best view was worth more than the most prominent position. Victoria looked up when he sat down. Her gaze moved over him, His suit, his briefcase, his face, with the assessing speed of a person who has been sorting people into categories for 20 years. He was in a category she recognized. She had decided which one before she finished looking. The meeting ran its course. James listened. Noted. Asked 2 questions, precise, technical, the kind that made the CFO beside Victoria go very still. At the end of the meeting, James stood. He extended his hand to Victoria across the table. A professional courtesy. Standard. Clean. Victoria looked at his hand. Then at him. I don't know who brought you in, she said, pleasantly, loudly enough for the room to hear, but this is a leadership meeting. You're welcome to wait outside. A pause. You're beneath me, she said. With the casual certainty of someone who has never had cause to examine that sentence before saying it. James looked at her. He did not lower his hand immediately. He held the extension for 1 more second, not in challenge, not in defiance, just in the specific patience of a man giving a moment its full weight before releasing it. Then he lowered his hand. He picked up his briefcase. He touched his left breast pocket, Ada's drawing, there as always, come home big, Baba, and felt something settle in him. Thank you for the meeting, he said. He walked out. 11 people watched him go. Not one of them said anything. He called Ada on the drive home. Not to tell her what happened. To hear her voice. She answered on the second ring. Come home big, Baba? Coming home big, he said. That night, after dinner, after he had eaten the best piece she had left him, the corner of the lasagna with the extra cheese that she always engineered his way without acknowledging she was doing it, James sat at the kitchen table. Ada was doing homework. She had a tracking board on the wall, a small corkboard covered in pins and colored string that she used for everything important, which currently included her class science project, her best friend's birthday, and a column she had labeled, Baba's work status. Under that column, Chicago, Week 2. She looked at him across the table. Baba. Did someone do something wrong today? He looked at his daughter. Someone made an assumption, he said. About you. About what I was. She thought about this. Grandpa Emmanuel said that what you know belongs to you, she said. Nobody can take it with words. James looked at his 9-year-old daughter quoting his late father's midnight kitchen wisdom back to him. Yeah, he said. So what do? We do the work, he said. The work answers for itself. She nodded. Updated her corkboard, added a new pin. I'm tracking it, she said. He opened his laptop. He worked until 1 a.m. The financial diagnostic report James produced over the following 12 days was 43 pages. Not because the problems were complicated. Because the solutions required precision, the specific kind that could not be argued with, hedged against, or reinterpreted by someone who needed to save face. He documented the structural erosion in 3 separate revenue streams that Victoria's team had been treating as independent fluctuations rather than symptoms of a single architectural failure. He built a remediation model with 4 implementation phases and projected outcomes at each stage. He included sensitivity analyses for 3 economic scenarios. He verified every number twice. His father's voice at the midnight kitchen table, what you know belongs to you. He made it impossible to dismiss. Ada tracked it with colored pins, 1 for each section completed. By day 8, the board was almost full. She had added a star at the top without telling him. He found it when he sat down on day 9. He looked at it for a long time before he started working. On day 12, he sent the report to the holding company's chairman. Then he made Ada breakfast. He did not think about Victoria Crane. He thought about Ada's cardiologist appointment in 3 weeks. About $800. About the way his daughter always left him the corner piece. The work was done. The rest was already in motion. Before I tell you what happened when the holding company's chairman read that report, I need to stop. Because this story is not about a report. It is about a man who lowered his hand and walked out of a room, and then went home and made his daughter dinner and ate the corner piece she saved him and opened his laptop and worked until 1 a.m. For her. Not for revenge. Not to prove something. For the 9-year-old who tracks his work on a corkboard and quotes his father's midnight wisdom. Think about your father. The one who came home after a hard day and still made dinner. Whose hands smelled like the work he did. Who sat at the table and asked about your day when his head cost him something. If your dad is your hero. If your dad walked out of rooms with his head high and came home and kept going. Subscribe to the Single Brave Dad Stories, right now, for your dad. Hit that bell icon, for every room he walked out of with his dignity intact. Give this video a thumbs up, for every midnight hour he worked while you slept. Share this video, for every father who needs to hear that what he does matters. The Single Brave Dad Stories. Because every father deserves to be seen. Now, back to James. Because what happens next will change everything. The holding company's chairman was a man named Robert Ellis. 71 years old. 40 years of building and acquiring companies. The specific unhurried authority of someone who has seen everything and is therefore rarely surprised. He read the report in 2 sittings. When he called James, his first words were, "This is the clearest diagnostic I have received on any acquisition in 15 years. Thank you," James said. "I'd like to bring you in formally. Not as a consultant. As chairman of the Meridian Oversight Board." A pause. "The current CEO," James said. "Will report to you," Robert said. "She doesn't know that yet. I'd like you to attend Thursday's executive meeting. I'll introduce you at the start." James thought about Ada's corkboard. About a star at the top of a board he hadn't asked her to make. "All right," he said. Thursday arrived. The conference room. Same table. Same 11 people. Victoria at the head, already speaking when James entered and took the same seat, the one by the door, with the best view. Victoria noticed him. The slight tightening around her eyes, the recognition of an anomaly, a person who should not be here twice. Robert Ellis entered 30 seconds later. The room adjusted immediately, the specific adjustment of a room that understands who has just walked through the door. "I want to introduce James Okafor," Robert said. "Effective this week, James serves as chairman of Meridian's Oversight Board. All executive decisions will route through his office." Silence. Victoria Crane looked at James Okafor sitting in the chair by the door. James looked at her. He did not smile. He did not perform the moment. He simply was there. The same man who had stood in this room 4 days ago with his hand extended. The same worn briefcase. The same left breast pocket with Ada's drawing inside. The same complete, unhurried patience of a man who had known, all along, what he knew. Victoria stood. She extended her hand. "Mr. Okafor," she said. James looked at her hand. He took it. "Ms. Crane," he said. "I look forward to working together." Victoria Crane returned to her office after the meeting and closed the door. She sat at her desk. She thought about Monday. About 4 words she had said in front of 11 people. About a hand she had turned away from. She pulled up James Okafor's biography, the full one Robert's office had sent following the introduction. She read it. 46 years. Emmanuel Okafor's son. 20 years of financial restructuring. The list of companies he had stabilized read like a case study in things that should have failed and didn't. She read the report. All 43 pages. She read it the way she read things when she was genuinely trying to understand rather than assess, slowly, going back, making notes. When she finished, she sat very still. She thought about the word she had used. Beneath. She thought about the man who had heard it and lowered his hand and said, "Thank you for the meeting," and walked out. Without anger. Without anything. She thought about what that had cost him, not professionally. She understood now that it had cost him nothing professionally, but personally. What it cost a man to stand that straight while being told that. She did not call James. She understood that the thing she needed to do did not involve James Okafor. It involved her. She opened a document. She started writing, not a memo, not a policy, not anything institutional. Something private. Something that began with the sentence, "I made an assumption about someone I had not looked at." She wrote for 40 minutes. James never knew about those 40 minutes. His story did not require it. James Okafor still drove the same truck. He had been offered a company car, twice, by 2 different people in Robert Ellis's office. He had declined both times with the particular pleasant finality of a man who knew which things in his life were not for changing. The truck got him to Ada's school. To the cardiologist. To the work. The cardiologist appointments were covered now, fully, by the consulting firm's insurance package. $800 a month, gone from the calculation. Ada had updated her corkboard. She had added a new column, not "Baba's work status" this time. A new column titled, "Things We Built." Under it, Meridian, Week 1. She was already filling it in. James sat at the kitchen table one evening, watching her update the board with the focused precision of a child who has decided that documentation is a form of love. "Baba," she said, without turning around. "Yeah, baby. Did you shake her hand?" He thought about Thursday. About Victoria's outstretched hand. "I did," he said. Ada considered this. Updated a pin. "Good," she said. "Grandpa Emmanuel would have too." James looked at his daughter. At the corner of her certainty. "Yeah," he said. He would have. On a Saturday morning, always a Saturday morning, James and Ada Okafor sat at the kitchen table. Not working. Not strategizing. Making a goosey soup. It was Emmanuel's recipe, 31 years old, written in his handwriting on a card that James had laminated when he was 22 because the paper was starting to wear. Ada had found it in the kitchen drawer at age 6 and declared it the most important document in this house. She was not wrong. She stirred with the focused seriousness of a child following a recipe that matters. "Baba," she said, "when I'm older, I want to build companies. Not fix broken ones. Build them right from the beginning." "From the inside out," James said. "From the inside out," she confirmed. "So nobody has to come in later and fix the part underneath." He looked at his daughter. Emmanuel Okafor's granddaughter. Amara's eyes. James's patience and a stubbornness that belonged entirely to herself. Grandpa Emmanuel would have said. "What you know belongs to you," Ada said immediately. "I know." She kept stirring. Through the kitchen window, Saturday morning light on the city. Chicago breathing differently on weekends. Somewhere above, a plane drew a clean white line across the blue. Ada looked up at it briefly. Then back at the soup. "Baba," she said. "Don't forget to add the palm oil." He added the palm oil. A hand. That's where this story began. One extended hand. And 4 words that were supposed to end it. But some hands, in the hands of the right man, don't need to be shaken to mean something. Because James Okafor had been carrying what he knew for 20 years. And no one could take it. Not with words. Not with silence. Not with a turn back. That's what Emmanuel Okafor taught at a midnight kitchen table. And what James taught Ada at a Saturday morning stove. Right now, before you do anything else, close your eyes. Think about your father. The one who came home after days that cost him something and still made dinner. Who sat with cold coffee and late-night work and never once let you see the price. Who extended his hand even in rooms that didn't deserve it, because dignity was not something he borrowed from other people's approval. The one who showed up. Every single time. If your dad is your hero, if your dad stood straight in rooms that tried to make him smaller, then this moment is his. Subscribe to the Single Brave Dad Stories, right now, for your dad. Press that bell icon, for every room he walked out of with his head up. Give this video a thumbs up, for every midnight he worked so your morning could be easier. Share this video, send it to a father standing in a room right now that doesn't see him yet. Tell him, we see you. What you do matters. You are someone's whole world. The Single Brave Dad Stories. Because every father deserves to be seen. Until next time. Extend the hand. Do the work. Let what you know speak. The quiet ones, they always become the person in the room that matters most.